glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so what happens now, Kishori?
You can speak if you like to.
If I like. In other words, I have to. Okay.
Okay.
It's good to see everybody.
Oh, nice.
2.5 years of lockdown. Of course, in Australia, you were much more locked down than I was. We weren't locked down at all. I've been to Europe, I've been to Fiji, all over. Anyway, it's a dangerous world. I was just speaking to Sadhbhuj how he had a close encounter, what is it, near-death experience.
I'm still here.
He actually saw the Vishnu Dutas.
Really? Did you?
Why not?
Yeah, he saw the Vishnu Dutas. And they told him it wasn't time yet. He has to finish the temple first. Then they'd come and take him away. Actually, all the devotees are Vishnu Dutas. And none of them are Yamadutas, so don't worry. Okay, let's chant a little. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samhiti Namine
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivashesha Shunyavati Asyachare Zatarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Asyachare Zatarine
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Paramahamsa Paravitkacharya, also Teta Satashi, Shimad, Divine Grace, Savaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopikapanath Shayam Kund Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Machuranam Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shivadi Lasti Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta, Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prasthaya Budale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarani. So, Ganatimadandasha Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshurdam Nirikam Ganantasmai Shri Maha. Oh my God. So, we've been missing everybody for about 2.5 years, and it's very interesting that many times we think that certain situations in the world, certain situations in our own personal lives, are impediments in Krishna consciousness. Of course, there are certain things that are impediments, like what? Lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, nice things like that, right? But we see a lot of stuff happening in the world that's out of our control. In fact, all of it's out of our control. And we think, how can we go on with Krishna consciousness like that? So that is a failure to see Krishna in everything and everywhere, as Krishna says in the Gita. Yomam pashati sarvatra sarvam chamayi pashati tasham na pranashami sachamena pranashati. And those of you who don't know that verse, it's 6:30. There's one who sees everything in me and everything in me was never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. So, first of all, whatever happens that's outside of our control, because we also have some blame, things are in our control. Like if we, for example, there was a flood here and you didn't take out insurance on your car, then you're the rascal. So, you can blame Krishna. It's Krishna's arrangement. I didn't have insurance on my car. No, it's your stupidity. That's right. I just didn't want to say the word. You're a rascal. So anyway, so we don't want to blame Krishna for things that we foolishly do. But most of the stuff is we don't have any control over. And what do you do about stuff like that appears to be an impediment in devotional service? Like we find in the Bhagavatam, the verse, Savaypum Sampara Dhamma Yato Bhakti Ahutsaje Ahaituki Apretite Atmasupasidate, which means devotional service is not supposed to have any impediments. So what do you do about it? So therefore there's two types of things you deal with. One type of thing is like something that happens, you lose someone, just like over the last 2 years we've lost some of our dear God brothers and even disciples I've lost for a variety of reasons. I mean, there's COVID and everything like that. And other diseases occur too. I mean, COVID's not the only disease in the world. Like if you got over COVID, that doesn't mean you're going to live forever. I wish it would mean that. I know I don't. I want to live forever in this body. It'd be really bad to live forever in this body. So you see a lot of people passing away. Hani Bhutani Gachanti Himalaya. And of course, as the Mahabharata states in the discussion between Yudhisthira and Yamaraj, we're thinking it's not going to happen to me, right? I get to see everyone else die. I'll go to everyone's funeral, but not my own. I refuse to attend my own funeral. So, you may not be at your own funeral, because you'll have left your body with it. Anyway, so, the most wonderful things, we see people passing away, and we think it's not going to happen to us, but these last 2 years, it's really brought home the idea, the concept that it is going to happen to us. And not only that, it brought home the concept that we should really appreciate the association of Vaishnavas. Just like my dear godbrother Bhakti Chumaraj passed away, actually in the beginning of COVID, when he was came back from India to the United States. And you're always thinking that you can see someone again, okay, see you later, see you next time, like that. But you don't know when that person's going to be taken away from you. Just like when Srila Prabhupada passed away, none of us were thinking that Prabhupada was going to leave this world. Because it was Prabhupada's pastimes. You generally think it's a pastime. He gets sick, everybody chants 24 hours a day, and then he gets better. And, people don't die. Especially when you're young, you don't think people die. When I was joining the Krishna conscious movement at 20 or 21, death didn't exist. It was just something that happened in some far-off country. I remember the first time I went to India, I saw a cremation. And I thought, what's that? That's a body being cremated. Oh my God, I've never seen that before. But now at our age, isn't that Sadhguru? He's young. He's still much younger than me. But anyway, my age, I hear 3 or 4 or 5 people pass away each week. Something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you expect this is going to be called the decade or the 2 decades of sorrow, where we see a lot of our friends and people pass away. So one thing we can learn, because I'm actually pointing out the topic of today's discussion is that actually everything that happens is a lesson for us, and it's not a problem, and it's a challenge and an opportunity. This actually should have given a title to the whole discussion. So then it makes me, like when we lost Bhakti Churu Maharaj, and it was very traumatic because he was actually my best friend. The interesting thing is I had put him as the trustee to take care of my will when I passed away. So that's, oh my God, I thought you were going to be around to take care of whatever charters I had left over. And don't give any to Kishori. So I was thinking like that, and then all of a sudden the roles are reversed. So it makes you really appreciative of, the association of such a great personality. He was so loving, just every time he would see me, of course, I'm not loving, I just joke. But it was funny, actually, every time I saw him, I said, oh, there's a great pure devotee. Just to embarrass him. So, somehow or other, I always had this joking relationship with my godbrothers who passed away. It doesn't mean you're going to pass away if I joke with you. So, like with Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I would always call him, hey, there's the Supreme Controller. And he took it from me. I mean, it's interesting. And Bhakti Churu Maharaj took it. So anyway, so I appreciate, so it makes you really appreciate, when am I going to get to see this person again? I may not get a chance to see this person again. It was probably the same thing, I thought I was going to get a chance to see Prabhupada again, and unfortunately I wasn't in India when Prabhupada passed away, even though Prabhupada wanted all of his disciples with him at the time of leaving this world. But somehow or other the GBC at that time, I wasn't on the GBC at that time, but the GBC at that time didn't give the information to all of us. You know, the Prabhupada wanted all of us. He wanted everything to stop in the Hare Krishna movement, isn't it, Sadhguru? And everyone to be with him at that final moment. Because the appreciation of association with the Vaishnava on the Vapu level is incalculable. So that's one of the main lessons I learned these last 2.5 years. And it's a valuable lesson, and Krishna arranged that lesson. Another lesson, apart from the most important lesson, which is the value of the association of Vaishnavas, is the lesson that there is no impediment in devotional service. Because my devotional service previous to those 2.5 years was traveling around the world, having a good time, eating prasadam. And so, you know, I'd come here regularly, go to Fiji regularly. In Fiji, they would make me sometimes preparations, dinners with like 1,008 preparations. It's nothing. Kishore just brings a big plate, but it's nothing. It's actually nothing.
It goes.
She can't even hold a candle to the devotees in Fiji. So, you know, as my service going around preaching and everything like that, and all of a sudden, okay, got to stay in one place. I said, oh my God, what am I going to do? I mean, I can't really just contemplate my navel for the next 2 years. Because I was never that good in Hatha Yoga. I have trouble doing that. So I thought, what am I going to do? So there I was. And just like, oh my God, you know, I'm not a Babaji. And not to be getting on a plane anymore and just seeing the same people every day. It gets old. When you're used to variety. Prabhupada says variety is the mother of enjoyment. So then I heard about this thing called Zoom. Which I think none of you know about this. And then, by Krishna's grace, I had the intelligence, or Krishna gave me the intelligence, not my intelligence, to give a class every day on Zoom, you know, reading of Prabhupada's books. So for the next two years, I was having a daily class and reading Prabhupada's books. We went through the Bhagavad Gita, Nectar, Devotion. We're almost finished with the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I was able to delve into Prabhupada's books in a deeper level and also reach out to more people than I had been before when I was traveling. You know, every day we had like 30 to 50 people in my class. That's a lot every day, in addition to the regular classes and everything like that. And so it was an opportunity. My preaching increased, or sharing, to use a politically correct word. My sharing increased. Instead of just sitting there feeling sorry for myself and getting depressed. I don't have that problem. But anyways, I would just go play basketball or something. Instead of sitting there getting depressed, then, you know, use the intelligence, and I did something, and then life became even more pleasant. And I was communicating with devotees all over the world, in Australia, New Zealand, I mean everywhere, India on a regular basis. I had more interaction with devotees. And it was really nice, and actually understanding more of Prabhupada's books. I mean, it's interesting. Sometimes devotees talk about, how many times have you read Prabhupada's books? You know, you hear this statement right now, people talk about that. How many times you've gone through Prabhupada's books? But then I realized it's not a question of how many times you've been through Prabhupada's books. It's a question of how intensely you read Prabhupada's books. I mean, like recently, sometimes I just pick up one verse, look at it, and meditate on it, and for the next few hours I'm thinking of that particular verse. Even one of the prayers, you know, sometimes people read the prayers in the Bhagavatam, they think, this is boring, another prayer. I want some action. Want some demons to be killed, or some Krishna dancing, kissing the gopis, you know, something something at least sexy. And so the prayers generally, in the past we found ourselves going through, I know that prayer, I know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know the demigods worship him, let's get on to something, some more spice. But then I discovered that if you actually sit down with a verse and you meditate and you read the individual translations of each and every word in the verse, then it comes alive. So it's not a question of how many times you've read Prabhupada's books, because Prabhupada said you can become Krishna conscious by reading one word in his books and understanding one word in his books. I'm online here too. Don't worry, it's all being saved. So it was really nice and able to reach so many people and deepen. So then, I'm just giving you an example how there was a problem or an issue or a challenge, and we made something positive out of it. In America, we have this saying: if life gives you a lemon, you make lemonade. You have that saying here too? Life gives you a lemon, you make lemonade out of it. So lemon means something bad, like a car that breaks down all the time is called a lemon. You have that saying?
Yeah.
For cars too, yeah. So I had that realization, and then, of course, then I was sitting there, doing these online classes every day, and I thought, I'm also here. I should be doing some preaching at the universities too. And so then I had an opportunity. I rented an apartment at nearby university for about over 6 months or something like that. And then I was going out and preaching or talking to the devotees or talking to people the devotees brought at the university. And my life became really ecstatic. Really amazing. And so in many ways, by seeing Krishna in everything rather than getting into the mode of ignorance, which means, lamentation. Tomorrow I'll preach. When the COVID is over, I'll preach. When COVID is over, I'll go. Another thing I missed going to India. Obviously I couldn't go to India for 2.5 years. And I'm going probably in October, November. So instead of lamenting about this, just take advantage of the opportunities you have. Ahaitakiya pratiyata. Devotional service is not deterred under any circumstance. Even if you become disabled, God forbid, but if you become disabled, or if you're locked up in prison, or something like that, there's always a way to connect to Krishna, because you have his holy names. Also, that's another thing I learned from reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course, I knew it before to a certain extent. I was reading the third chapter, the Anshalila, which deals with Haridas Thakur and his teachings, how powerful the holy name is. Just by reading slowly, you really get to understand more and more, at least with that particular chapter, more and more the potency of the holy name and the teachings about Namavash, and the compassion of Haridas Thakur, the compassion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's an amazing experience. And I could say that over the last 2.5 years, I had so many amazing realizations and experiences. And of course, now we're traveling again, so back to my normal Maya self. Anyways. And can associate with there's advantages in each and every circumstance. So, just wanted to mention that. I thought that would be an instructive message for everybody, not to lament. Let's say if you get a lot of water and your house gets flooded out. Oh my God, my furniture. So what do you learn from that? Well, don't get attached to your furniture. Because you get in a rut, actually, when you're in one place for one. That's why sannyasis travel, especially during during the rainy season they can't travel, so they have to execute austerities. Because if you stay in a place too long, you get very attached, and you get in a rut. A rut means something in the road. The water wears down. A rut in the road. That's a rut. So you get in a rut, and then you just get into your mind a lot. So Krishna arranges this. A nice flood. It's nice. But you have to learn a lesson from it. Right? Because by the nature of the time factor, everything gets washed away. I mean, the flood is even poetic. Right? Everything's washed away. Kalena Sarvatra Gavir, all this stuff, but the action of time. Everything gets washed away. And you can't take it with you. Like if you go, it's death, time to go back to Godhead, and you say, I just want to take my furniture with me. I mean, it reminds me of the story about Tukaram, the Maharashtrian saint. He's a great saint. And actually, Prabhupada said he was initiated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he has kirtan parties just like our Sankirtan parties, but with a different type of drum. And so anyway, what happened is that his wife was she was very inimical. She liked him, but not his devotional service. She always wanted him to get a job. And somehow or other, Krishna always provided for them, ananyas chinto yanto mam yejanat paripasate. So it came time for him to go back to Godhead, so Garuda comes to pick him up to take him back to Godhead. And his wife is right there, and he says, Priya, that's how you say honey in Sanskrit. Priya, you want to come with me back to Godhead? He says, no. She says, no, I got to take care of my children. No, there's nothing wrong with taking care of your children, but if that flower airplane comes, hop on it, So Krishna is really detaching us from this world, isn't it? In many ways, whether through the flood, through COVID, through seeing people pass away, all these different circumstances. And because our real attachment should just be to Krishna's holy names. That's all we really have. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, other than myself, referring to the holy name, you have no friend in them. I mean, we have, obviously, the spiritual masters are the friend, the devotees are friends, but the holy name is a friend that can be with us 24/7 in every circumstance. Holy name will never neglect us. That's what I learned from reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, anyway, that's the lesson for today's class. So, any questions? Anybody would like to say something? Yes.
One of my good devotee friends, Trevor.
Trevor, yeah.
He just lived around the corner here. He passed away too, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and he knew me since I was a child. Mm. And I know what you mean about when people are passing away. And
taking advantage of the people's association while you got them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so rare. Oftentimes, there's another thing I forgot to talk about. One thing I've seen that's been a negative during this whole time is that devotees have been fighting more on the internet than before. It's like the pros and the antis. The pros are demonizing the antis, and the antis are demonizing. I'm not taking a position on vaccines. I'm neutral. Whatever you want to do, you can do. You can take it or not take it. But the real problem is not the vaccine or anti-vaccine. The real problem is the fighting between Vaishnavas. That's the real problem. The ad hominem attacks. Ad hominem means like personal attacks. I can disagree with you, but if I disagree or if I hate you and I denigrate you, then that is much worse than COVID would ever be. because that'll destroy your devotional service, destroy my devotional service. So we really have to get to the point. I know everyone's was locked up. But we have to get to the point of really appreciating each other, relishing each other's association, and serving each other. And yes, agree to disagree. Just like right now, probably some of you are aware that there's some controversy going on with some GBC rules. I guess I can mention the one about Vaishnavi Diksha Gurus. Where Kishori wants to be a guru and the GBC doesn't want it. Anyway. So there's some controversy, but we find it's in many cases, not on the part of the GBC, but in many cases it's degenerated into this, personal attacks against people, calling people names. And that's, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, Vaishnavas are entitled to have different opinions. Prabhupada said the GBC should meet and talk about unity and diversity. I don't think we've ever talked about it. Do you ever remember that subject? The GBC talking about unity and diversity? No. We passed certain resolutions. What did Prabhupada say? Resolutions, revolutions, dissolutions, no solutions. But really, that's what we need to do amongst ourselves. Sure, you have a different opinion about whatever, about everything, because we're individuals. And I appreciate that you have a different opinion. I respect your different opinion, and ask you to respect my opinion. And I respect you and love you as a Vaishnava, and that's nice. That's an international society for Krishna consciousness. Like Prabhupada said, we have different people of different races. It's not that we discriminate against someone because they're white or brown or blue or chartreuse or any of these different colors. That would be crazy. I don't like your color of your skin, Prabhu. That's crazy, isn't it? I don't like your glasses. What happened to my glasses? Anyway, so they're somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't need them. So I don't like your glasses. And so in the same way, I don't like your belief about vaccines. It's just like variety. It's so wonderful to have variety. Prabhupada said, different colors. We have devotees from all over the world. It's like a garland. If you had a garland with all the same color, it would be boring. Prabhupada said, United Nations of the spiritual world. So we have to mature. We have to really get mature in our understanding of Krishna consciousness. Because if we don't, then our deity worship is like offering oblations to ashes. It really has no benefit to us. Unless we can actually develop love and compassion for all living entities, and especially for the Vaishnavas, then we remain... Hare Krishna! Oh, where'd you get your gray hair?
After having a kid, it's changed.
You're young. Is that naturally gray?
No, a little bit, but mostly dyed.
It's blonde.
Looks great to me. So anyway, it's important to appreciate the diversity and appreciate the person's sincerity and love for Krishna. And it's great, everybody has a different opinion. I think that's wonderful. Otherwise, it's like the clone army in Star Wars. The clone army in Star Wars? Have you seen Star Wars? That's Maya. Of course, I have also. I've seen every Star Wars several times. What?
So, if a devotee who knows the philosophy and who's mature is discriminated against because they're female or because of their skin color, not by devotees but by people who aren't devotees.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a story that comes to mind that Narad Muni told a snake disciple of his that you're a snake now, but he's initiated him as his disciple, and
Just threaten.
just threaten, but people will throw stones at you because of your body,
Yeah.
but don't strike.
Just
and-
raise your hood.
Yeah. So my question is then, as a devotee who's female and brown, and who's discriminated
You're not
against.
the body.
Yeah, but then how?
You're not female. You're not brown.
But in the period that you need to stay on this earth planet and have dealings with material people, what would be some strategies to use?
Strategies. I would basically be compassionate. Mind, that's from not my point of view. I'd be compassionate that people are so much engrossed in the bodily platform that they're discriminating against me because of, they're the ones who are the problem. I don't own their problem. They have their problem. Example of where I get discriminated racially against is in the Jagannath temple. I go to the Jagannath temple. Actually, I tried to bribe my way in. I was talking to Sadhguru Prabhu about bribing in India. It doesn't always work. It works when you get a traffic ticket. That works really well at that point. Small things, isn't it? But not big things. So, you go to the Jagannath temple, and I said, how much is it going to cost me to get in? And he says, give me 500 rupees. And I said, will you let me in? He said, I'll tell you about Lord Jagannath. I said, that's not what I'm talking about. And so they didn't let me in. So discriminated against because of my body and birth. And then I go to the Shakshi Gopal temple. And I'm with two other devotees, men. And one introduces himself to the guard at the door. He says, I'm a Brahmin from Gujarat. And he goes in. The other one says, I'm a Brahmin from Andhra. He goes in. I said, I'm a Brahmin from New York. And he doesn't let me in. He said, who's your father? I say, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He's my father. He looks at me. Doesn't look like it. And then, the funny thing is, I think, were you with us at that time, Krishna?
Yeah, 2007, I think it was.
Yeah, when a lightning bolt hit?
Yep.
Then I said, Krishna's going to punish you.
Oh.
So then a lightning bolt hit right in front of the temple, like 10 meters away from us. And the whole ground was shaking. And I said, look, you better let me in or it's all over for you. He said, no. That's determination. I got to give it to him, And then the second lightning bolt hit. You remember that?
Wow.
It still didn't let me in. So Krishna was actually showing his displeasure. However, my feeling is that I wasn't angry at the guy. Had he taken my money, I would have been angry. But wasn't angry at the, not guy, devotee. Because I just felt compassion. He doesn't know any better. Like Jesus Christ, he said, forgive them, they know not what they do on the cross. So people are conditioned. If we get angry with people because of their conditioning, then we're culpable too. We are blamable, culpable, if we're angry, because that's a test by Krishna. It's a test by Krishna. It's an interesting story, like I just heard a Prabhupada story that one man came in, a Brahmin, and a bunch of Brahmins or whatever, they were really angry with Prabhupada for initiating Westerners and accepting Westerners in the Krishna consciousness movement. And they were yelling, and said, they can never be Brahmins. They can never be Brahmins. They're useless. Anger, so much anger coming out of them. And Prabhupada was smiling at them. And by doing that, Prabhupada was showing that these people are not Brahmins. Because they were succumbing to anger. Because a Brahmin is samantamaktapakchocham. He's equal poise, he's self-controlled, peaceful, tolerant, and all those other things. So I would say that somehow or other we should be compassionate with those who discriminate against us for different. It's easy for me to say that because, I'm walking around with a body that I don't get discriminated against that much. Well, as a devotee, I do. I remember going on Sankirtan in the southeast United States. There's one state called Mississippi and Alabama. And the police pulling out and going and saying, son, you know what's good for you? You get out of town real quickly. Said, I know what's good for me, sir. Yes, sir. Please accept my obeisances. And then he radios ahead to the next town. And I'm met by the police in the next town, too. So I got just run out of state. I began to vote. So, but, they don't know better. That's their conditioning. That's how they were brought up. It's like an addict. I mean, if you're treating someone who has an addiction, you don't get angry with them for their addiction. That's their conditioning. And if you can show them that you're actually not bad, maybe that'll change their condition. Actually, there's an interesting story. In America, there was one of the chief guys in an organization called the Ku Klux Klan. Anyone's heard of that before? That's where they used to take the black people and put them on crosses and burn them and everything like that. Seriously, America was really bad at a certain point. And so what he was, instead of being sentenced to go to jail or whatever, he was sentenced to make friends with some black person. And they talked, and then he became an advocate for racial harmony after some time. So if people can get to know each other, that's also the problem with the internet and why we have so many fights right now, because you don't get to know each other, because words are only like 8% of communication. The rest, 92%, is body language and tone of voice. So that's why that's one of the reasons that devotees during the COVID crisis, they were mainly communicating over the internet, text messages. And people just get so angry. Oh my God. I mean, I get anti-vax messages every day from one of my godbrothers. And I just, like, in a joking way, said, I said, if I was to think so much about vaccines as you were writing to me, a message a day. It's like the thought of the day. Thought of the day. I said, I'd be able to see Krishna by now. And he got angry with me. I said, it's just a joke. And then I had this thing with a joke with Kishori online.
Oh, yeah.
And it went all over the place.
Oh, viral, man.
Yeah, it went viral.
Finally, I was famous. Finally, I was
And everyone in the whole world found out that I was going to ask this old lady, this old weak lady to go into the farm and grab all the brahmacharis. If anyone takes that seriously, it's ridiculous. I couldn't even imagine such a thing happening. It's just, it's humor, isn't it? Yet I got blasted from all over the world for being a demon. Because I made some joke that Kishori was going to grab everybody and channel.
So that was because they didn't know you.
Yeah, but if you think about the scenario, like Kishori.
I'm too fat to run anyway.
I mean, it's really, there's a scenario of a lady coming onto the temple with a needle, running after everybody. It's, all right, even if they say they didn't get to know me and thought I might have been serious, then write me a letter, say, were you serious? And then I'll say, no. I say, oh, yeah. But to assume the worst, that's the point I'm making. Obviously, some people might come to the conclusion that I'm a demon. Probably right, they're right. But I actually also should investigate my ethnic history. You know, for the community I come from, there's a lot of humor. That's why I'm still alive. Because if you can't laugh at things, then you're just gonna go inside. So the point is, I mean, all this communication, nonverbal communication, not reaching out to people, just leads itself, exacerbates, these sort of relationships, these ad hominem attacks. We should never come to the point of attacking people personally, and it makes it worse. I mean, like for example, this whole problem in Ukraine. If you start calling Putin a demon or something like that, it doesn't solve the problem. You know, I'm not saying what will solve the problem, but it doesn't solve the problem to demonize people. It solves the problem. The problem solving, the conflict resolution, is by understanding people. You know, even if I'm acting wrong, try to understand me, and then, maybe I'll correct myself. But otherwise, the more someone calls me whatever name they're going to call me, the more I'm going to react to that. So as far as conflict resolution, it's much better to understand someone, and that requires taking the time, sitting down with someone, or at least having a Zoom call with them, where you can see their faces. Anyway, I'm not so bad. I'm not going to jab everybody. I believe in freedom of jab. Whatever. People can do whatever they want or not do whatever they want. It's a free world. This is not China. In China, if one person gets COVID, they lock down the whole city. It's unbelievable. So anyway, it's good. It's good to see everybody, and I just feel great love for all of you to be here again. There is a certain special thing to be somewhere in person. I'll tell you, it's different than Zoom. It's completely different. And so any other questions? Yes.
On the subject of the devotees having discussions and differences of opinion without hating each other.
Yeah.
Wasn't Krishnadas Kaviraj, didn't he say something about debate being healthy, or do you know?
Yeah, debate. Debating philosophy and everything is healthy. Yeah, it's healthy. To debating Siddhanta.
It's our culture.
Yeah, it's our culture to debate, but it's against the rules of debate to engage in ad hominem attacks.
Yeah.
If one's ever studied debating in the university, and you'd be breaking the rules. You'd be kicked out immediately if you said, "I don't like your face" or something like that, or "You're stupid." That's a stupid question.
If there's a root of love, like a family.
Yeah, like a family.
If this concept family, like in our families, my mother's a meat eater or whatever, but I love her because she's my mother.
Yeah.
If we all had those kind of feelings towards each other, then we could have differences and debate things without...
Yeah, we have to separate our love for the person from, difference of opinion. And, I mentioned the Vaishnavi Diksha Guru issue, which turned into, a certain extent, an ad hominem attack thing. But I'm on one side. You can't guess what side, but anyway. I'm on the side that women should just stay in the kitchen and cook. And be barefooted, and not talk unless talked to. Anyway.
We got it. It's a joke.
It's on the internet. I said, someone is going to take an excerpt out of that.
And hang you.
I said, oh my God, this chauvinistic pig. So let me finish with this one thing first. So, whatever side I'm on in the issue, I just appreciate everyone's point of view. And we actually had some discussions. I was one of the members of a particular panel, had discussions with some people who were on another side. And I just said, I'm going to listen to you, but some of them actually just called me a bunch of names. And I just said, let's try to understand where I'm coming from. So, but it's hard. A lot of people are not accustomed to separating the issue from the person. And that's really has to be, and also seeing why I am taking a particular point of view. You know, what is my motivation? My motivation may not be as bad as people. People may attribute to me some really bad motivation, but it may be a perfectly good motivation. I mean, for example, I'm interested in ladies becoming gurus. I mean, qualified ladies becoming gurus, because it's essential for our Western preaching. Here, I'm taking a stand. But anyways, so it's essential for our Western preaching. That was my motivation. And also, I also see that Vaishnavis are also not their bodies. Not only the men are not the bodies, but women are also not the bodies. Is that something new? You join the Krishna conscious movement, and you're not the body except if you're a woman. You are the body. You know, so, I mean, it's different reasons. It's interesting, isn't it? We're spirit souls.
It's illogical.
Yeah, it's logical. I'm not the body, you know. I may have been born in a Western family or whatever, so something like that, but, you know, I am also a spirit soul. That's just bringing back, basically, this ritualistic Brahminical concepts, which do not come from the Vedas. They actually come from India, Indian culture to a large extent. India has been a captive nation was a captive nation for about almost 2,000 years.
And Christianity.
And Christianity, yeah. But India, you know, what people think of as Indian culture or Vedic culture is really not Indian and Vedic culture, because it's just the culture you see in India that's coming from the invaders that have been there for the last 2,000 years. I mean, even the architecture. There was this whole discussion with the TOVP, you remember? Like, we want Vedic architecture.
Taj Mahal.
Yeah, but Prabhupada actually looked at the U.S. Congress bill name. You know, of course, Sadhguru knows the whole story. He says we want something like that. But what is Vedic architecture? I mean, there are certain proportions, obviously, that you're dealing with Vastu. I mean, and then you go to different parts of India, and there's different types of architecture, and there's northern India, there's heavy Middle Eastern architecture there. And so, you know, whatever. You have a question?
I wasn't a question. I was going to say, what was the main reason why Westerns not allowed to go into Jagannath Puri Temple?
Because we're impure. We're you know, malechas.
Okay. Now, I did hear somewhere along the line that, well, it's true or not, but back in the British Raj, someone actually urinated on the side.
Oh.
That's what I heard from somewhere.
Oh my
Well,
God.
that's true.
That's possible. That's possible. But you know, there's a certain discrimination against the Yavanas, which is most of us here in this room.
There's a lot of Yavanas over there too. I mean,
I know.
they're worse.
Is a Yavana a Muslim?
No, mediator, whatever. It's like a generic term, Yavana. I mean, it can be used in a specific term, meaning like someone coming from Turkey or Greece or something like that. But it generally, in the discussion between Haridas Thakur and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it meant those who were outside the Vedic culture. It's a generic term for that. Outside the Vedic culture and considered impure, and that they would have to be born in Hindu families in order to be qualified. And so just like that story that Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was on the planet, the devotees went to one Brahmin and he said, look, if you were all very nice, and if you keep doing nice things like this in the next life, you'll get a chance to be born in a Brahmin family. And they told that to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, you can tell him that if he keeps doing his Brahminical activities nicely, in the next life he'll get a chance to be born in the West and join the Hare Krishna movement. So there's definitely that discrimination. Even they discriminate against people with Indian bodies who are coming from overseas. You know, you can't, like if you're from Fiji, you can't talk because your Hindi is completely different. You have to just like do a Mona Vrata or something like that to go into the temple. But anyway, whether you go to the temple or not, even Haridas Thakur, he respected that, the culture, and even Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami respected the culture. They didn't go to the temple, nor did they force their way into the temple, even though they came from high-class Brahmin families, but it was considered that they had lost their caste due to association with the Nawab Hussain Shah.
So they never went to the Jagannath?
Never went into the temple.
And Prabhupada didn't also?
Prabhupada, I don't remember. Maybe.
He visited.
Did Prabhupada ever
when he
go?
was
I don't think so.
No.
He refused for that reason.
Yeah.
But remember he visited when he straight after university he visited, like Jagannath Puri for maybe a week or something, and maybe he went then.
I don't have any recollection of Prabhupada going in the temple, but no. Prabhupada tried to get the devotees to go in, but Lord Chaitanya's associates like Haridas Thakur and Rupa and Sanatana Goswami didn't go in. They respected the culture. And therefore Lord Jagannath came to them every day in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and brought prasadam. That's even better, isn't it? And you look at the flag. And Prabhupada said, one time he said, unless they let my disciples in, Lord Jagannath is going to come out of the temple and join us. Because you can't, if you're not properly respecting the Vaishnavas, then what is the value of your deity worship? You know, that's like Kanishthadikari stuff. So, any other questions? Oh, Gauri. You got a new baby, little Krishna Balaram. It's very nice. Congratulations. So, any other points? Questions? Yes.
You know how you've travelled the world to many different countries?
Yes.
I was just wondering how Australia, when you come to Australia, is there anything you notice that is not like the same in other countries? Or?
Yeah, a lot of birds here. And some of them attack you.
Okay.
You ever been attacked by a bird here?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, I was really attacked when they kept diving on me and trying to scratch me and everything.
Ask Kishore to get you one of those helmets that got replaced.
Yeah, Australia has the best birds on the planet, I think. Yeah, I mean, the largest variety. I mean, all these beautiful birds I've never seen anywhere else in the world.
That's true.
Snakes or something.
They go together.
I don't know, but there's lots of
Snakes
them.
here, deadly snakes.
So
Several deadly snakes, I think, in Australia.
But I like the birds rather than the snakes. So, but they are beautiful. I mean, so many different colors and headdresses they have on them. I mean, and it's singing, you know, the chirping of the birds. It's really amazing. So that's what I noticed different here. And the devotees are all nice, but devotees around the world are nice.
Okay.
Yeah, Australia's great.
Oh, thank you.
All glories to Australia. Okay. I guess that's it. We'll see everybody.
Thank you everybody for coming, and thank you for your association, and please have more prasadam if you haven't. And I just wanted to say it's really amazing to have Gurudev here with us after 2.5 years. And, yeah, and you know, really like being in the present moment and appreciating that Vapu, that physical presence is something we've been taking for granted, you know, like, and we just think that it's never going to happen. Like my father passed away in 2019, and it was just something that we would never have thought that could happen. So we just take for granted that, you know, people won't leave and that it'll always be the same. But then, you know, it's just amazing, like Gurudev was saying, that the incalculable value of having the Vapu Association is something that we actually don't really realize, having a pure devotee around. So thank you very much for coming, taking the trouble to
Thank you,
be here.
Kishori.
And thank you again, everybody. Haribol.
Haribol, all glories to Prabhupada. Ah, Rupa, what?
I had a question. We see in Govardhan here there's many devotees in female bodies giving wonderful classes at the temple, and it's very
That's
very
nice.
progressive. And I'm just wondering if many temples around the world there's a lot of devotees in female bodies giving classes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends on where you are, but
Mine
mean-
was always giving classes, women giving classes.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's quite common now. I mean, in many places in America, we have probably half the temples we have lady temple presidents. I mean, Vaishnavi temple presidents.
So I listened to
Do you have any here in Australia? You're behind the times here.
I listened to some classes from LA temple, and there doesn't seem to be any ladies really giving classes there.
Really? I'm not that familiar. It's been years since I've been in LA, so I don't really can't really say. But in many of our temples and in our North American Council, which I'm also a member of, I think half of the people in the council are ladies. So we really have. I mean, anyway, at least in America it's like that. In Europe, one of the GBCs. In America, one of the GBCs is a lady. And in Europe, one of the GBCs is a lady. I don't think it's mainly an Indian Western split. I think it's, when you find sexism, I'm getting into something, but when you find it, it's usually due to people's misunderstanding of what Krishna consciousness is. And that I've seen that most of the people who appear to be chauvinistic are Westerners rather than people from India. Does that make sense? Especially the Westerners who move to India, they become influenced by sort of a ritualistic Brahminical conception. And some of them, and this is coming from Westerners, not people in India, some of them believe that ladies should not get the first Gayatri mantra, the Brahma Gayatri. So it's a controversy. But in my perception, it's been mainly Westerners who have a misconception of what it means to be Vedic. In India, people are very liberal. I mean, India had a lady prime minister way before any other country in the world had. I think it was probably before Margaret Thatcher. Yeah. It was probably the first lady prime minister in the world. Now the rest of the world is catching up. New Zealand really caught up.
Good job too.
Yeah, she was good. She's good. So, I mean, I think we should examine and see people according to their skills, their abilities, and in Krishna consciousness, their level of devotion and knowledge. And it'll happen. And Krishna consciousness is meant for the whole world. We start discriminating on account of the body, then most of us will be excluded too. Most of us, in male bodies would be excluded. I wasn't born in a Brahmin family. Brahmin in another religion. That's funny. Okay, we better let you all go. Prabhupada ki jai.
So in the Bir Krishna Goswami ki
A lot of people watch.